I'm sorry for the confusion.
No, 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 nothing, nothing. Because yesterday evening she had sent a message, Narayani, or evening or late evening also she sent. I said, okay. Who was supposed to take today? Any idea? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, I'll read the name. It is Krishna, Her Grace Krishna Rupa Mataji.
Oh, no problem.
So I'll start sharing the screen, Prabhu.
Yes,
I
yes,
started actually.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Jai, jai, jai. 53123, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Shloka 1 to 3. Correct.
जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यमुनातीरवनचारि जय कुञ्जबिहारी जय यमुनातीरवनचारि जय कुञ्जबिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगगणरघुनाथान्वितं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सगगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तान्त। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So with the mercy of Krishna and blessings of Guru, we are again associating in the wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam in the 5th canto, chapter number 3. As we get into that, just have a brief of the whole thing where we are now. Okay. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langete girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Diyanatarinam परमानंदमाधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरं अमांगुष्टपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिनिति नामिने नमः। चरपदाय नित्याय कृपाप्रदायिने गौरकथादामदाय नगरग्रामतारिणे। हरि ओम तत्सत्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। हरे कृष्ण। गोधूळि दूसरितकोमलगोपवेशं गोपालबालकसतैरनुगम्यमानं सायन्दने प्रतिग्रहं पशुबन्धनार्थं गच्छन्त अच्युतशिशुं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। As we see the dynasty in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Swayambhu Manu, Shatarupa, then they have got 5 children, that is Priyavrata, Uttanapata, then Ahuti, Devahuti, Prasuti. Then in the same disciplic succession we are getting into that. Anga, Vena, then Nabi. So Nabi is a very powerful king, at the same time very wonderful devotee of the Lord. So again, as we see here, Nabi is the eldest son of Agnidra, and he got married to Meru Devi. Since they didn't have progeny, they approached the Lord and wanted to have a child or children. As they had that wonderful thought, they went and approached the Supreme Lord and they started performing yajnas or the sacrifices. So one should understand, is that right to approach for progeny, and is it not material? And people might think, oh, this is also a not pure bhakti. Again, it's a mixture. But one should understand very clearly, even for the Purushartha, what are they called as? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So one should go to Ekam hi evahares tatra pada sevanam. Who is telling this? Narada Muni is instructing Dhruva Maharaj. So, as it is explained, one should approach the Supreme Lord. Again, the Bhagavatam also explains on this point that we all know pretty well. Akamaha sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi. Tivrena bhakti yogena ejetam purusham param. So there also, Ejeta Purusham Param, one should worship the Supreme Lord. So that's why it is mentioned here, Akamaha Sarva Kamova. So no desire and full of desire, and for moksha desire also. So one can easily assess the devotion of Nabi and his wife Meru. They approached the Supreme Lord four-armed form, and they requested and they started praying with a sacrifice. They prayed for a son like the Lord himself. And upon their doing the sacrifice plus the devotion by King Nabi, the Lord agreed. And as the son of Meru Devi and Nabi. So one can understand the Lord appeared as the Rishabhadeva. It's also one among the incarnations. But as we read further into this, one can understand how Nabi has been so much devoted to the Lord. Because as we read that he performed a yajna and he did this and that, people will think, oh, his bhakti is a Mishra bhakti. But it is not so. Because the Lord comes down as one couple's child. It is always understood the devotees have performed such a austerity and pleased the Lord. And again, it is between the Lord and the devotee, how they reciprocate each other. So, in this connection, also, in this chapter summary, also, it is shortly mentioned a spotless character of Nabi. That means his devotion is the perfect one. There cannot be any spot in his devotion. So, as we get into the shloka, let us try to understand verse number 1. Devotees, I would like to say certain things on the Sanskrit part of it. This type of shlokas are called as Gadyam because it's not Chanda like the Bhagavad Gita. So it will be in a different format in one line also, sometimes four line, lengthy also. So this is called Gadya. Okay. Shishuko Vacha Nabir Apatya Kamo Apra Jaya Merudevya Bhagavantam Yagya Purusham Abhihitatma Yajata. Okay. So can I request someone to read the synonyms translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, yes, Prabhuji. Translation, Naimisha Mataji, you can read. And purport also, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Barnali Sen Mataji, purport, you can read the purport. Synonyms and translation, Naimisha Mataji. Hare Krishna, go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. There is no purport in this verse.
Mataji,
Okay,
then you
Mataji.
can read
For
the
the next,
Yeah,
for the
next
next you
verse I will
can.
read. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Synonym.
Krishna.
Sri Shuka Uvacha, Sukadev Goswami said, Nabihi, the son of Maharaja Agnindra, Aptaya Kamaha, desiring to have sons, Aprajaya, who had not given birth to any children, Meru Devya, with Meru Devi, Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yagna Purusham, the Lord Vishnu, the master and enjoyer of all performances of sacrifice, Avahita Atma, with great attention, Ayajata, offered prayers and worshipped. Translation by Divine C.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak. Maharaja Nabi, the son of Agnindra, wished to have sons and therefore he attentively began to offer prayers and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the master and enjoyer of all sacrifices. Maharaja Nabi's wife, Meru Devi, who had not given birth to any children at that time, also worshipped Lord Vishnu along with her husband. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
One minute. The name is Agnidra.
Agnidra.
Okay. Okay. So, in this, Sukadeva Goswami continued to explain to Parikshit Maharaj. So Maharaja Nabi, I'll tell you, in olden times, especially in the Puranic times, previous millenniums and all, the entire Earth planet was completely ruled by one king. They are called as Samrat also. So here Nabi was ruling the entire planet, and he was the son of Agnidra, and he wanted to have children. Therefore, he intently offered prayers, and he started worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu, the four-armed form, the master and the enjoyer of sacrifice. This word comes specifically for the simple reason this devotee is going to offer his prayers along with the sacrifice. So, we do sacrifice, right? What is that? Kirtan sacrifice. We call it as Kirtan Yajna, right? Here it's a real sacrifice which is to please Vishnu, who is the enjoyer of it. But again, one should understand, though Nabi was such a great devotee, Meru Devi is also nothing less than that. So, since there was no children for them at that time, they started worshipping Lord Vishnu, and Meru Devi also started worshipping along with the along with the Nabi. So, here we have to understand one point. The husband and wife have a good understanding, and since they don't have a child, they approach the Lord. This is a perfect system of it. But you might have heard there is a story wherein the husband will be willing to beget children, but not the wife. So those story also you might have heard about it. That what happened, it's a different story. But here, both of them approach the Lord Vishnu, Supreme Personality, and ask for a child. Worshipping means, the way of worshipping is very, very important, that we are going to understand from the next verse. Okay, now we are moving on to the next verse. तस्यः भाव श्रद्धया विशुद्ध भावेन जयतः प्रवर्गेषु परिचरसु द्रव्य देश काल मंत्रार्थ विग दक्षिण विधान योगोपपत्या दुरदिग्मघमो अपि भगवान् भागवत वात्सल्यत् तया सुप्रतीक आत्मानम् अपराजितं निज जनाभिप्रेतार्थ विदित्सया गृहीत हृदयो हृदयंगमं मनो नयन नयन अनंधन अनंध नयनानंदना भयभाभिरामम् अविश्चकार. Okay, somebody can read that.
Barnali Sen Mataji, you can read the word-to-word meaning and translation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranams. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranams. Synonyms. Tassa, when he, Nabhi, Bhavava, certainly, Shraddhaya, with great faith and devotion, Vishuddha Bhavena, with a pure, uncontaminated mind, Yajata was worshipping Pravargeshu, while fruitive activities called Pravarga, Pracharatsu, while were being performed, Dravya, the ingredients, Desha, place, Kala, time, mantra, hymns, with the priest conducting the ceremony, Dakshina, gifts to the priest, Vidhana, regulative principles, yoga and of the means, upattaya, by the performance, duradhigama, not obtainable, although Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavata Vatsallataya, because of his being very affectionate to his devotee, Pratikaha, possessing a very beautiful form, Atmanam, himself, Aparajitam, not to be conquered by anyone, Nijajanam, of his devotee, Abhipreta Artha, the desire, Vidhitsaya, to fulfill, Grita Hridaya, his heart being attracted, Hridayangamam, captivating, Mana Nayana Anandana, pleasing to the mind and eyes, Avayava, Avayava, by the limbs, Abhiraman, Ramam, beautiful, Avishchakra manifested. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. In the performance of a sacrifice, there are 7 transcendental means to obtain mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 1. By sacrificing valuable things or eatables. 2. By acting in terms of place. 3. By acting in terms of time. 4. By offering hymns. 5. By going through the priest. 6. By offering gifts to the priest. And 7. By observing the regulative principles. However, one cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through these paraphernalia. Nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. Therefore, when Maharaja Nabhi, who was a devotee, worshipped and offered prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion and with a pure, uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of Pravarga, the kind Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to his affection for his devotees, appeared before King Nabhi and his unconquerable and captivating form with 4 hands. In this way, to fulfill the desire of his devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifested himself in his beautiful body, therefore, before his devotee. This body pleases the mind and eyes of the devotee. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams Mataji, Prabhuji, Dandavat pranams.
Sureshwari Mataji, you can read the purport, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Danda. Purport
Hare
by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said, Bhaktya mamabhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tat anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality as He is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Bhagavad Gita 18.55. One can understand and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of devotional service and not in any other way. Although Maharaja Nabi performed prescribed duties and sacrifices, it should still be considered that the Lord appeared before him not due to his sacrifices, but because of his devotional service. It was for this reason that the Lord agreed to appear before him in his beautiful bodily features. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.30, the Supreme Lord in his original nature is very beautiful. Venum kvanantamaravinda dalayaksham barhavatam samathitambuda sundarangam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, although blackish, is very beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. They're very interesting words. Huh? There are so many points we can pick it up, and how important is a sacrifice, and how a sacrifice should be performed, and what should be the ultimate essence or the paraphernalia of the yajna. So let us go one by one. In performance of a sacrifice, there are 7 transcendental means to obtain the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So there are 7 different types of means. Means paraphernalia, we can use it. So before getting into the 7 types, okay, let us get into the quality of the person who is conducting the yajna. So how it is addressed here? Shraddhaya, with great faith and devotion. That one qualification is very important. Then next comes is much more important is Vishuddha Bhavena. Bhavena means his thoughts and mind. Vishuddha. Shuddha means pure, and we always see that Sattva gun, and from that Sattva gun comes the Shuddha. And again, it is emphasized with an adjective Vishuddha. Vishuddha means, Prabhupada make it very clear, pure and uncontaminated. Two phrases he is using it. So the same thing is also applied to the Lord when Indra glorified Krishna in the 10th chapter, 10th canto, 27th chapter. It's called as Indra's prayers. There he starts Vishuddha Sattvam Savadhama Shantam. So Vishuddha Sattvam. So the Lord reminds the not only Shuddha Sattva, and he reminds much more about that. See, we are all trying to remain in Sattva Guna, but unfortunately the other two gunas comes and pulls down. Bhagavad Gita explains. Then we always are instructed by the acharyas to come to the higher level, what is called as Shuddha Sattva. Right? Once you come into the Shuddha Sattva, one can stabilize and move forward. But otherwise, Sattva Guna is also not perfectly okay. But temporarily it's okay. But here, when we talk about the Lord, it says Vishuddha Sattvam. So here also the same situation for the devotee as well. So this devotee is very pure, right? And what is the next word? Uncontaminated, because there cannot be any tinge of contamination. That's very important. And with that too, where it is in the mind, because the contamination starts with the mind, right? So dhyayatyo vishayan pumsaha, that sloka. So as we see the quality of the person who is performing it, so that is Nabi's great qualities. So pravargya. So that means one looks for some material or fruits of the activities. But here the goal of Nabi and Merudevi is something very, very great. They are looking for a son, but not a normal one. Because according to Krishna conscious approach, one should always pray to the Lord before begetting children. So we follow the samskara, what is called as Garbhadana samskara. And again, they have to beget children of all wanted children, right? Because in many places, Prabhupada writes unwanted population, unwanted children. So that should not be coming into place in any way. So a devotee must always look for a child which is Krishna consciousness. Here, Nabi and Meru also wants a child similar to Krishna. That's why they performed it. Okay. So moving on to that, let us try to understand the seventh process. The first one, it talks about by sacrificing valuable things and or eatables. So this is called Ahuti. In the fire sacrifice, Ahuti means we are giving offering to Agni Deva. Again, one should understand the Lord is also expanding as Agni. We can understand from the Vibhuti Yogam, 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So he accepts valuable things. That means the Ahuti should be of a high quality, valuable things. Eatables, then we talk about Anna. So it's not mere Anna, they call it as Havis. Havis means rice cooked and lot of ghee is poured into that. That's called Havis. Then these two things can be offered. Okay. Then acting in terms of place. One can choose a very, very wonderful place where they can get the result of the yajna. Here, the yajna is performed for any other benefit, material benefit means no. Their idea, both of them are meant to get a child, that too a child very much wanted, and that too it should be similar to Krishna. So they offered all these valuable things and eatables. Then they took a place, what is called as important place. So yajna cannot be performed everywhere, they like. But for especially Harinam, there is no rules and regulations. That's why for the Kali Yuga, the best recommended sacrifice is Nama Sankirtana. So, Maranena Kalaha. What is that? Shiksha Ashtakam says Maranena Kalaha. There is no hard and fast rule in chanting the Parima. But for conducting this type of yajnas, there are so many regulations. So, first they offered valuable things or eatables, then they have to choose the right place. See, in this connection, we can get into that fourth canto again. Narada Muni instructs Dhruva as he went out of the palace to see Narayana. So while going, Narada intercepted him, stopped him, and told him, so you go to the Madhuvana, right, on the banks of Yamuna. So you can go and sit and do the penance, and the Lord will appear. Because it's a very, very recommended place. If you look at the Bhagavatam, many austerities are performed on the banks of Ganga, and the place is called as very simple Madhuvan. There are 12 vanas in the Vrindavana, but Madhuvan is so expert and so very special. So that means it is in terms of place. Then third one, by acting in terms of time. This is also next important thing. As we see again the same example of Narada and Dhruva. So Narada Muni instructed him, first 15 days you have to observe this, and next 15 days you have to observe that. Like that he kept on telling. So here also the fire sacrifice should be performed at the right time, not according to their whims and fancies. Right? That's why it is mentioned here, acting in terms of time. When these conditions are fulfilled, automatically one can get to see the Lord. That's what it is explained. Third one, we got into the time. Right? Then fourth one is, it talks about the by offering hymns. This we know pretty well, offering prayers, various type of prayers. From the scriptures, from the Puranas, one can do it. But again, when we do it, one has to be very careful. There cannot be any mistakes. Because in the sacrifice, when the mantras are wrongly pronounced, the result will be according to that only. If it is rightly pronounced and perfectly done, then the result will be perfect. So in the Bhagavatam, many places we have heard the pronunciation went wrong and the outcome was very bad. Sometimes asuras also coming out. One normal quote what we say is called Vritrasura because of the pronunciation mistake in the Yajna sacrifice. So he came under Asura form. Okay. So that means time is very important. And the next one is offering prayers, fourth one. Fifth one, by going through the priest. This is a very important. So one can keep a priest who can perform it. And he'll be treated as a perfect Brahmana. Because he should be a perfect Brahmana, then only they can become a priest. So going through the Brahmanas and using the priest with the help of them, one can perform it, the sacrifice, and get Krishna. Sixth one, offering gifts to the priest, that is Dakshina. It's coming in the shloka also. Because what is more important is, of late, people are having less interest in sacrifice and less interest in any type of spiritual performances. So people are fond of only all the time working, and no time for spiritual activity. And certain categories they are willing to do that, but they don't want to spend. This is also wrong. Because when the Prohita comes and when he teaches us and when he performs the Yajna on our behalf, right, or instructing us to do how to go about it. So after getting all that, one should not neglect him. So one should be giving a suitable gifts. What is that? Very important. Offering gifts to the priest. So when we talk about it, generally it is recommended dhoti and angavastra. We call it as 9 by 5. When you go to a textile shop, they can offer you 9 by 5. This is a standard material. So if you go for 10 by 6, there is another size. It is meant for the Vishnu forms in the temples. So for a Brahmana, one can give 9 by 5 dhoti and angavastra. Okay. So that way, gift giving. Okay, 6 is over. Then the seventh one is by observing the regulative principles. This is also important. Because scriptures are mentioning so many austerities. And one can perform this regulative principles very easily and one can get it. Again, when we talk about observing the regulative principles, we are also coming under category. Because we perform the sadhana perfectly, the Lord will be definitely taking us back in this very lifetime itself. So that way, these are the 7 type of paraphernalia with which we can do it. Okay, moving on to that next. What is it? However, one cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through this paraphernalia. That's also Prabhupada very clearly explained, because in the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explanation, it is mentioned any fire sacrifice should be conducted according to the Vedic injunctions. One. Second thing is, if the result or if the desire of the performer is to get the Lord's darshan, one should do it with more seriousness and more dedicatedness. So automatically the Lord will be pleased, because there are other fire sacrifices for devatas also, but here we are talking about Narayana, Vishnu, who is the enjoyer. That's what we saw in that. So further, nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. So that means the Lord is always pleased with his devotee, and he is ready to offer all the blessings and other things. Therefore, when Maharaja Nabi, who was a devotee, worshipped the Lord, offered the prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion, with a pure, uncontaminated mind. What are the things he has used? Great faith, devotion, and uncontaminated mind. Similar to that of a yajna. Right? Superficially means not physically, okay? That's called superficially yajna. In the line of pravargya, the kind of supreme personality of Godhead. Due to his affection for his devotees, the Lord appeared before him. Because one cannot simply deny or say, oh, how this Nabi has done this in this with the intention of begetting, because he is a what is that called? Interested in the results or the fruits of the karma. But no, it's very clear. He did it with devotion to the Supreme Lord directly. As I told you, first of all, he approached the Supreme Lord for his desire, and when he performed that yajna, it's also very clear he has got very uncontaminated pure mind, and his devotion is the bottom line. So all these 3 things put together gives Nabi the desired result. Again, when we talk about that, the Lord appeared before him, because the Lord is pleased with him. Right? So that way the Lord came out with his beautiful form. And the final word, this body pleases the mind and eyes of the devotees. See, that means the Lord's body is not like a normal material body. It's completely transcendental body. That's why in the Brahma Samhita it's mentioned Sachidananda Vigraha. Okay. So coming to that yajna once again, because one should not mistake Nabi and Meru. They are materialistic people. They are always fruit oriented people like that. So they are not like that. They have got a basic perfect devotion because their mind is pure and uncontaminated. Clear? So what does it say? Bhattyamam abhijanati yavan echasmi tatvatah tato mam tattva jigyas. Sorry, jnatva. Tato mam tattva jnatva vishate tadanantaram. That means bhattyamam abhijanati. Only by bhakti one can approach me. That's what it is. We can understand what is the meaning. One can understand Supreme Lord is always devotion service. And when one is full consciousness of Supreme Lord by such a devotion, he can enter the world. So that means here the performance of yajna is meant for pleasing the Lord and with so much of devotion. So further the purport explains one can understand and see the Supreme Lord, the process of devotion service, and not in any other way. That means one cannot mistake it. This Nabi and Meru did it for some ulterior motive in the material world. So that's why it is mentioned here. His intention is with pure devotion he performed it. Okay, so it should be still considered Lord appeared before him not due to the sacrifice but because of the devotion. So the sacrifice what we are performing is only to please the Lord, no doubt about it. And at the same time, it is an offering to the Lord. How? Because in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Yat karoshi yadasnasi, yajjihoshi dadasyat. Yajjihoshi means any sacrifice. offering unto me. So again, Nabi and Meru perfectly did it. They offered these prayers and the sacrifice to Lord Vishnu to please. That is mentioned here. So, because of pure devotion service, the Lord is pleased to give that. It was for this reason that the Lord agreed to appear before him in this beautiful bodily feature. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, it is what is mentioned? Varnam Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayaksham Barhavadam Sansidam Buddha Sundarangam. So that means the Lord's beauty is explained. Sundara Angam. Sundara Angam means the body is so beautiful. Then the Lord's color is also mentioned, and the Lord is having a flute in his hand. So it's a description of the Lord, and it is always beautiful. Clear? Let's move on to the next verse. अतः तम् आविष्कृत भुजयुगलद्वयं हिरण्मयं पुरुषविशेषं कपीश कौशेयाम्बरधरम् उरसी विलसच्चिर्वत्स लालामं धरवर वनरुह वन मालाचूरी अमृतवामणि गदादिभिर् उपलक्षितम् अन्मट स्फुट किरण प्रवर मुकट कुंडल कुंडल then कटक कटी सूत्र हार केयूर नूपुरादि अंग भूषण विभूषित ऋत्विक हृदय ऋत्विक साधाय गिर ग्रह पतयो आधना इवोत्तम धनम उपलभ्य सबहु मानम अर्हणेना अवनत शीर्षान. And finally the last phrase is upatastuhu. As I told you, it's a prose order form, it's not a poetic form. So we can just read the words precisely and move on. If possible, you can fit into, but again, the routine, what is it called? Gita tune is also not applicable, the other one is also, it's in a different tone. Okay, now I request the synonyms and the translation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishnamurti Prabhuji, you can read the word-to-word translations and word-to-word meanings, and Sharmila Mataji, you can read the translation, and purport Naimisha Mataji, you can read. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavot Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
After a big gap.
Synonymous, Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Atha, thereafter, certainly, tam, him, avik, avishkrita, bhuja, yugala, dhyayam.
Prabhu, Avishkrita Bhuja Yugala Davyam.
Avishkrita, bhuja, yugala, dhyayam. Who manifested himself with 4 arms. Hiranmayam, very bright. Purusha Vishesham, the topmost of all living beings. Purushottama. Kapisha Kausheya Ambaradharam, wearing a yellow silk garment. Urase, on the chest. Vilasat, beautiful. Srivatsa, called Srivatsa. Lalamam, possessing the mark. Dharam,
Prabhu Lalamam.
Lalamam, possessing the mark. Dharavara, by a conch shell. Vanaruha, lotus flower. Vanamala, garland of forest flowers. Achuri, disc. Amrutamani, the Kaustubha gem. Gada Abidbihi, and by a club of other symbols. Upalakshitam, symptomized. Puta Kirana, radiant. Pravara, excellent. Mukuta, helmet. Kundala earrings, Kanaka bracelets, Kati Sutra girdle, Hara necklace, Keyura armlets, Nupura ankle bells, Adi and so on, Anga of the body, Bhushana with ornaments, Vibhushitam decorated, Ritvik the priest. So Sadasya associate, Graha Patayaha and the king Nabi, Adhanaha, Adanaha, poor persons, Iva like Uttama Dhanam, a great treasure, Upalabhya, having achieved, Sabahumanam, with great regard, Arhanena, with great ingredients for worship, Avanta, bent,
No,
Sira,
Prabhu, Avanata.
Avanata, bent, Sirasanaha,
No,
their
no, no. Shirshanaha.
Shirshanaha, their heads, Upastutaha, worshipped. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Vishnu appeared before King Nabi with 4 arms. He was very bright and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment. On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried a conch shell, lotus flower, disc, and club, and he wore a garland of forest flowers and the Kaustuba gem. He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, belt, pearl necklace, armlets, ankle bells, and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Seeing the Lord present before them, King Nabi and his priests and associates felt just like poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered him things in worship. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Purport.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is distinctly mentioned here that the Supreme Personality of Godhead did not appear as an ordinary human being. He appeared before King Nabi and his associates as the best of all personalities, Purushottama. As stated in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13.
1 minute, 1 minute. It is Purushottama, then it is Kata Upanishad.
Katha Upanishad.
Uh,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also a living being, but is the Supreme Living Being. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Lord Krishna himself says, Mattah parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no thing superior to me. No one is more attractive or more authoritative than Lord Krishna. That is one of the differences between God and an ordinary living being. According to this description of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, the Lord can easily be distinguished from all other living beings. Consequently, Maharaja Nabi and his priests and associates all offered the Lord obeisances and began to worship him with various things. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 6.22, Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatah. That is, upon gaining this, one thinks that there is no greater gain. When one realizes God and sees the Lord face to face, one certainly thinks that he has gained the best of all things. Rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When one experiences a higher taste, his consciousness is fixed. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything material.
Hare
One
Krishna.
then remains steady in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So in this connection, a few things we have to understand. Even if you look at the story of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, so there is a very wonderful verse. We can get into that, then we come back to this now. Okay. This is completely a beauty of the Lord and that also there are so many verses in the Bhagavatam for this reference. But before that, how about Nabi and Meru, and similarly Kardama and Devahuti? It's similar situation. So here 3:23:7, this verse talks about, and we'll try to understand the translation. Kardamoni continued, I have achieved the blessings of the Lord in discharging my own religious life of austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. So that means Kardama Muni, he is opting for a child with his wife Devahuti for the simple reason to get into that what is called as the wanted child. What is the wanted child? The Supreme Lord Himself. So in that situation also one can understand Devahuti also maintained so many penances and pleased the Lord. Then Kardama and Devahuti put together their devotion. The Lord agreed to come as their child. What is the name of the child?
Kapila.
Kapila Muni.
Lord
Kapil
Kapila.
Muni.
You have to address Lord Kapila. Okay. So that means that's also very interesting thing. Kapila also appeared for pleasing the Kardama as well as the Devahuti. So this is a very interesting aspect. All these austerities are performed only to please the Lord, not for any ulterior motive. And they are asking for God Himself to calm down. So one can understand after Lord Kapila appeared, he delivered his mother. Because father already left the home or the Grahasthasrama and moved on. But he said very clearly to his wife that your son will always take you back to Godhead. So this is a very special mercy for Devahuti because she is also a great devotee. And the Lord Kapila explained everything, and Mother Devahuti obtained the Lord finally back to Godhead. So this is one reference which I wanted to give it in this connection. Nabi and Meru also same situation. So as we see here, the Lord is pleased because we saw in the previous verse they performed the sacrifice. The sacrifice, there are 7 types, we saw that. Here, the performance of the sacrifice was so good, the Lord is pleased. He came down personally. And how He came with the 4-armed form. So Vigraha means the deity form, and it's always pleasing. Even in the last sloka also it is mentioned, the transcendental body of the Lord gives pleasure to the devotee. That's why when we are morose, when we have got problems, when we have got lots of sorrow, we go to the temple and see the beautiful form of the Lord. Automatically all our sorrows are removed and we come out very happily. So here also the Lord appeared before both Nabi and Meru. Right? Let us try to understand the beautiful form. I tell you, this particular form is explained in so many places in the Bhagavatam. One instance I can tell you is again, Narada Muni instructed Dhruva, there he says, Prasadabhimukam Shashwat Prasannavadanikshanam. This is coming in the 4th canto, 8th chapter. 7 verses are important, similar to this here. Okay. Then again, in the 10th canto, 3rd chapter, the Lord appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva. And Vasudeva saw the 4-armed Lord in a smaller form. And on seeing that also, he is explaining Tam Adbhutam Balakam Ambujekshanam, like that. That was also similar to that, describing the beauty of the Lord. Okay, let's get into that. Rudra Geetam, 4th canto again, chapter 24, wherein in Rudra Geetam, Lord Shiva describes the beauty of the Lord inch by inch or centimeter by centimeter. It also describes all these beautiful forms. Okay, let us get into this form, what is explained here quickly. He was very bright because effulgence, and he came in 4 arms. He appeared to be the best of all personalities. That's why he is called as Purusha Uttama. So there can be so many Purushas, male forms, but they are not complete. But only Krishna is the Supreme Lord or the Vishnu. He is the complete Purusha. That's why he is called as Purushottama. Sometimes we address him as, because he is complete, Purna Purushottama also. So around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silk garment. Pita Kausheya Vasasam, right? Even in the Vishnu Sahasranam also the same description is also mentioned here. So on his chest was the mark of Sivatsa. So what is a Sivatsa mark? Mark everybody says because the residing place of goddess of Lakshmi. So she always beautifies the Lord's wonderful broad chest, Srivatsa. Huh? Srivatsa Lakshman Garashobi Kaustumam, like that it comes. So next comes, what is that? Displays beauty. He carried a conch, lotus flower, disc and club. So Chaturbhujam. Huh? What is that? Shankha Chakra Kada Padmai Abhivakta Chaturbhujam. That's also coming there. And he wore a garland of forest flowers, Vanamali. That's why we always chant in the Vishnu Sahasranam, so Vanamali, right? The Lord is having that wonderful flowers, which is all from the forest, and the garland is worn. And he is the Kaustubhajam, wearing the Kaustubhajam. This Kaustubhajam is very special, and it is in the bluish color. And it is mentioned here, he was beautifully decorated with a helmet. Kiritinam Kundalinam. Kundalinam means earrings. Keyura Valayanvitam. Belts, belt in the waist. He has got a belt, and what is that next? Pearl necklace, moti, right? Moti, huh? So necklace is made up of pure pearls. Armlets on the forearms. He is wearing armlets. Then ankle bells. We call it as gunguru, right? And other bodily ornaments. What is that? There are so many other ornaments also bedecked with radiant jewels. So these jewels are radiant. It's attractive and so bright. Imagine a atheistic person or a Gnostic person. He says, "Can you show your God? Where is he?" Like that. We have to tell the fools, you don't have eyes to see that Supreme Lord when He appears before you. First of all, you correct your eyes. Like that we have to say. That's why Brahma Samhita, what Brahma says, Premanjana. Who is that? Somebody can chant it.
प्रेमाञ्जनचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणानुरूपं
Gunaswarupam.
गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं
Gunaswarupam.
गुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि.
So here also the same situation comes here. What is that next? He wore a Kaustubhajam. He was very beautifully decorated with earrings, everything, ankle bells and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Then, seeing the Lord's present before them, King Nabi and his priests and associates felt just like a poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. I'll tell you, what is the real rich in our life? Tell me quickly. One quick question. What is the real riches in our lifetime? Hare Krishna.
Obtaining Krishna Prema.
Harinam.
Huh?
Obtaining Krishna Prema.
Obtaining Krishna Prema, that's one answer. Then anything else?
What is the question, Prabhuji? I did not get it, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's very simple, Mataji. What is the real riches in our life?
Knowing about Supreme
To
Personality
worship
of
the
Godhead.
Supreme Lord in His personal form, Prabhuji.
Very simple. More than that, to get Krishna himself with us, right? That's the real riches. Because after Diwali, everybody worshipping Lakshmi, right? But it is not recommended in the Shastras. So along with Narayana. Similarly, here also, if somebody wants to have any riches, the topmost riches is with the Lord. That's why he is called as Srinivasa. When we say Srinivasa, he has got all the opulences in full. If somebody is getting the Lord himself, all the riches are there. That's why it is mentioned here. A very poor man, overnight, all of a sudden, he became very rich. Right? This is what explained. The example given is a poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. So much, it cannot be happiness. Try to understand. When we get the Lord himself directly, it's not happiness. What is it called as? Anybody can say? What's the use? What is the word you can use there?
श्रम एव हि केवलं
No, Mataji, I am asking the question is, see, happiness is something when we get riches. But when we get the Lord, what we get?
Everything, Prabhuji.
Everything, yeah, we're just going to say.
Can you say something was something
Somebody
happiness?
bliss.
No, connected to the happiness. some other higher term in the Sanskrit?
Fully satisfaction.
Nanda.
Satisfaction. Okay, somewhat closer.
Sachitananda.
It's a
That
Krishna Prema.
complete bliss,
Right,
Prabhuji.
understand. Not Sachidananda. Paramanandam. What is the word?
Param,
Paramananda.
Uh,
Param,
Paramanandam. When we get the Lord Himself, it becomes Paramananda. So that's why it is mentioned here. He got all riches, attained great riches. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered Him in worship. Right? They did Namaskar. Okay, let us get into the purport, which is very small. I think we can finish it in a few minutes. It is distinctly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of God did not appear as the ordinary human being. Very simple. Because they all asked for the beautiful form of the Lord, and the Lord Himself directly came. Right? But they wanted a child, and the child should be of a normal human form. But that is going to come later. That's why it is mentioned here, He did not appear as a human form, because He appeared in the four-armed form. So He appeared before Nabi and the best of the personalities, Purushottama. Then it says, as the Veda explains, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So this is from Kata Upanishad. What is that? Kata Upanishad. So the Supreme Personality is all living being, and He is the Supreme living being. Nityo Nityanam means eternal. Chetanas Chetananam, among the Chetanas, He is the topmost, and His Chetanas are also spiritual. Right? Everything is spiritual with the Lord. So far as the body is temporary, which is material, and the Atma is pure spiritual, and our Chetana, or the conscious, everything is not spiritual, it has to be purified. Right? So here for the Lord, everything is spiritual. That's why it is mentioned Purna Purushottama, or he is called as the Supreme Living Being. So in the Bhagavad Gita also it is explained Mattaha Parataram Nanyate. So that means it is very clear, I am the Supreme Truth. There is no other truth beyond me. When we say that again, the Bhagavatam, there are slokas in the prayers by Lord Brahma. Satyavratam, Satyaparam, Trisatyam, Satyatsa Yonim, Nikitam Satya, like that, there's one sloka. So there it talks about the truth, ultimate truth, or absolute truth. That's why it is mentioned here in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no truth superior to me. No one is more attractive or more authoritative than the Lord. That is the one of the differences between the Lord and the ordinary living being. So this is the philosophy what we maintain in the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. What is that? What is it called as? Philosophy of Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Achintya Veda
Achintya
Veda
Veda
Tattva.
Veda.
Chinta, Veda, Veda.
Very good. Achintya Abheda Vedanta. Okay. So that means this is a Supreme Lord, and there is always one difference between the Supreme Lord and the living being. There may be something similar, but always there is a difference, because we are in quality one, in quantity we are not. Clear? According to this description of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, the Lord can be easily distinguished from all the other living beings. So one can easily. So again, in this connection, I wanted to tell you, if you got few more minutes, I'll tell you that. There is one story in the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto. How many of you might be knowing that? That is called the one Vasudeva. What is the name? Anybody knows? He is also calling himself as Vasudeva.
Andraka.
Poundaranga. Poundaranga. Huh? Poundaranga. So he is also showing himself as Vasudeva. But again, when people are pure devotee of the Lord, they can make out he is not the real Vasudeva, he is the fake Vasudeva, Paundraga Vasudeva. Right? So there he is going and telling the Supreme Lord, see, I am the Vasudeva, you are no more Vasudeva, like that he is. Then the Lord gives him the right treatment. He is finished. So, this is what we have to understand. There is always the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Being, and He is called as Purna Purushottam. No one can equal to Him. That's why He is called as the Asamurdhva. Consequently, Maharaja Nabi and the priest and associates offered obeisances. So, immediately, since the Lord Vishnu himself came, they started worshipping with all the prayers. Again in the Bhagavad Gita also it is mentioned, na, yam labdva cha param labham manyante manadikam tataha. So there is ultimate gain. There is nothing beyond that. So a devotee will look for only this gain and no other gain will please him. That's why he also mentioned rasopapasya param drishtva nivartate. Raso apyasya param drishtva nivartate. So that means once that rasa is achieved, there is nothing else required. So this is a higher taste. So all these things are appearing right in front of Nabi, Meru and the priest. All the priests are very much, so much joyful and they are celebrating. Okay, when one experiences a higher taste, his consciousness is fixed. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything other materials. Same situation. See, actually, if you look at the Dhruva story, he wanted to have a land or a earth which is greater than his father. But interestingly, when he did tapasya and the Lord appeared before him, he said, I don't want anything. Then the Lord says, no, no, my dear, you came with a aim. What is that aim? To get a piece of land bigger than his father. But the Lord gave him separate planet, what is called as? What is that?
Dhruva planet.
Dhruva Loka, Dhruva planet. But what did he say? I didn't want. So that means he was not accepting the benediction, but the Lord forcefully gave him. That's why it is mentioned here, ceases to be attracted by anything material. One then remains steady in his worship of the Lord. So our devotion becomes steady. Clear? Hare Krishna. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We can add one more reference also. This is also very important. We can get into that. This is coming in the 4th chapter, 26th verse. So I'll just read the translation alone. It's a very important connection here. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and the others sacrifice the objects of senses in the fire of the senses. So that means they perform sacrifice, but ultimately what they do, this the four regulative ashramas and varnams. So all those things are mentioned here. Why? Because here Nabi is in the Grahasasrama. So he performed this yajna or the sacrifice to please Vishnu. So in the process, he also sacrificed so many things, right? So in the brahmachari case, what they do, the hearing process they sacrifice, right? And next what they do, the senses in the fire of mental control. So what is that? Mental control means like a fire. So you can control the senses very easily. The third category is others or the householders, right? Kirasas sacrifice the objects of the senses. So whatever the sense is attracting, the objects, those objects can be put into the fire. Like that, this is another way of control. But here one can understand Nabi and Nehru Devi pleased the Lord to beget children. And their intention was very clear. So they wanted to have the Lord Himself. So naturally their sacrifice is perfect in all respect. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Any other comments? Most welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Dandavat pranams, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the 7 things to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in those things, it has been mentioned, no, Prabhuji, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Pavarga.
Yeah.
Two Pavarga. What does that mean, Prabhuji? Like?
See, I'll tell you. If you look at it now, in these 7 items, it is mentioned very clearly. These are all various type of achieving the Lord. Okay. So achieve Lord, they can use these methods. For instance, as we get into the sloka again, in verse 2, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. In which verse? I don't know. Mataji just shared.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that
Second
those
verse,
7 things, how to please the Lord. I mean, The 7 ways of
Yeah, it is called a
in the
pravargya.
translation.
In the
Yeah,
shloka first line, Prabhuji,
In the
last word.
translation.
yeah.
La
So,
pravargayeshu.
I'll tell you.
Yes,
The
Prabhuji.
word has
Yes,
come
Prabhuji.
here. I'll read out for you. Okay. Worshipped and offered praise to the Lord with great faith and devotion, and with a pure, uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of pravargya. Superficially performing is called as pravargya. Understood? Because he did not want to have any material benefits. That's called a pravargya. Is it clear?
I just wanted to know, Prabhuji, is it that Pa Varga that Prabhupada mentions?
Same thing. Papa Bhava. That's the same thing.
Okay. Hare
That's
Krishna. So that means it is not pure devotional service, isn't it, Prabhuji?
no. You are telling the other way. It has got there is no material desire in this. Superficially means to perform yajna he did it with no material motive. Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So what
With
is
no
mentioned
input.
in this sentence you can understand no very clearly. With a pure uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of pravartya. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Uh,
In his mind, I mean,
so
mind was uncontaminated.
the
Yes.
motive of the sacrifice is to please the Lord, not with any material desires.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna. That's why even in the previous sentence, Mataji, there is one word you can understand. One cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through this paraphernalia. That means all the six cannot get the Lord because, as I told you, it's a pravargya. Okay. Then here, in the next sentence, what does it say? Nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. That means if devotion is there, the Lord is ready to come down. Therefore, when Nabi was a devotee worshipped, offers prayers to the Lord, faith and devotion, pure devotion. Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Got it.
So Nabi and Meru performed it with no material motive. Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Even though if they do
Uh,
any sacrifices or anything,
yeah, because
the
they
devotion is
wanted
there.
the Lord Himself to come. If
Yes,
they had asked for so many other children, it is not correct. So even I'll tell you, those who do not have children, they can pray to the Lord. I had told you many occasions. I don't know whether in your group also. That's called a Gopala Santana Mantra. This was told by Lord Shiva to Parvati. So here, if they do that, the Gopal Santana Mantra, they beget children. Not only children, all are devotees of the Lord. That's the way it is. Here, Nabi and Meru wanted the Lord Himself to be that child. Very clear?
yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Correct.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
There are no more questions, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving us your association, Prabhuji. Shall I end the lecture with the pranam
Yeah,
mantras?
yeah, yeah. Okay, sure.
Thank you,
Hare
Sumangala
Krishna.
Mataji, for your seva also. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for
Hare
the
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All
Hare
bless.
Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpataruभ्यश्च
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च
पतितानां
पतितानां
पावनेभ्यो
पावनेभ्यो
नमो
वैष्णवेभ्यो
नमः
नमो नमः
अनन्तकोटि
अनंतकोटि
वैष्णव
वैष्णव
वृंद
वृंद
की
की
जय
जय
श्रील
श्रील
प्रभुपाद
प्रभुपाद
की
की
जय
जय